Hello and welcome everybody to LFB's whatever number conference it is, and thank you all. We've had a huge turnout yet again, and it's really good to see you all here. So the first thing I need to say, as we had last year, we are being filmed. Okay, so and the film will be on YouTube. So anybody who wants to be famous, please stand up and turn around and give a twirl if you want to. You'll be on YouTube. So anybody who doesn't want to be filmed, just go to the back if you want to. But just to let you know, we're being filmed. So a bit of housekeeping. Toilets in here, ladies and gents, and there's a toilet on the way in, and fire escapes are all down that side, I believe. So on your seats, on your seats. We have a benchmarking report, and I'll be just saying a few words about that in a few minutes. There's also what we call a QR code on your seat, and so please keep hold of that, because we are going to have at the very end, where we got debate down there, which will be a discussion on will HMRC inherit the world, or inherit your world, inherit the farm. And we'll be using your mobile phones on that QR code a bit later on to do a bit of a survey, a live survey as it is called. I can't remember what it's called. It's called, yeah. But it's a live survey using your mobile phones. So you'll have to scan that code and keep it going. Okay, but I'll go through that again at the time. So this is our itinerary. You've all had this on the invite. So that's me, Gary Markham, and I own LFB, and we have our team here today, which I'll be introducing later on. Speakers, we've got Sarah down here from CLA, James here from CRM, and is not Daniel Elliott, because Daniel has had an accident. I believe he's not well. So we've got James Milne here from Barclays as well. So I'm going to say a few words about benchmarking. And there are benchmarking reports on your seats. We do have other handouts as well at the back. So we've been benchmarking for quite a number of years now, and they are in acres, and I apologise that they're in acres, but I find they're a bit more accurate than hectares, 2.5 times more accurate actually than hectares, and we've been through Brexit, of course, so we're back to acres. Yeah, so but I think the same points come out whether it's acres or hectares. It doesn't make any difference. So just 2 or 3 points about benchmarking. So we have figures for the 21 harvest. We don't have enough figures for 22 harvest at the moment. So they're building up, and it builds up to about 100,000 acres in total as we go. So some of the key points that we can pull out of the benchmarking, the numbers that aren't there, which is some of the key drivers for us at the moment, I find, is the machinery value of the capital per hectare or per acre. And we're up to round about 300 to 320, 350 pounds per acre of actual capital, which is a huge cost in depreciation, etc. And this is we're talking arable cropping now, of course. One of the other things we're actually looking at is machinery capital per tonne. Okay, which is so it's a relationship between the kit you use and the tonnes you produce per tonne of wheat, which is around about 95 to 110 pounds per tonne, depending on your system. I'll say a bit more about that in a few minutes. And that's a key benchmark we've started using in the last 2 or 3 years. So other few things is interesting. It's if you look at the contract farming income in the average. In the average column, you've got top 25 and top 10 here as well, average and bottom. So contract farming income in there is 162 on average, whereas the total labour and machinery on your own farm, including the contract farm, land is 196. Okay, so the 196 obviously is higher than the 162. So therefore, so most farms who have actually grown and grown and grown, and once you've got over the honeymoon period, as soon as you've taken the land on, started treating it as one big farm, actually your machinery or your kit tends to be the whole farm, and then the deal you originally tendered for on the contract farming deal, because you normally tender for it, there's a negative margin there. And many farming businesses are in that situation now, sort of locked into it. Obviously you can't pull out because you've still got all the machinery. The one way to pull out would be to form a sort of a machinery syndicate or something like that. So one of the key points here is not just depreciation, but it's what we call access to machinery. And this is a term I picked from Will Tongue sitting down there. Access to machinery, which is, Will and I speak a bit about farm management things. If you add depreciation and contract and hire together, because obviously you might not own all the kit, you might be having contractors in to do part of it, you might be hiring some kit in, so you need to add those three together to give access to machinery, which it ranges from about 100 to 130 pounds per acre to get full access to machinery. So, and I think the last point I wanted to make was that on this page, it is the trend. So we benchmark at rural business profit level, which is down nearly in your bottom left-hand corner, 557. Excuse me. But if you go along to the right of that, you can see, so it goes to 466, 294, 158. One of the key things we've always found, and I've been benchmarking since 1992, which is a long time. And one of the key things is the range between the top and the bottom. Huge range. So there's always plenty of scope to actually, pull up from the bottom into the average and try to get into the top 25 and top 10%. Okay, so and then there's just a couple of points again I wanted to speak about. So we've been benchmarking now for 4 years in a regenerative agriculture group, okay, which is linked to the Groundswell show, which many of you here are aware of and have been to, I'm sure. So we've got 4 years of benchmarking regen ag farmers together with or against or versus, if you like, traditional farming. And so the machinery capital per acre, as I said, is about 300 odd pounds in conventional, which is the LFB. So these figures are not on your handout. These are extra. Machinery capital per acre, whereas the regen group are about 280 odd pounds per acre. So there's less kit in regenerative agriculture. Machinery capital per tonne, because in the regen group there's a drop of about 20% yield in quite a few of the regen people. Not all of them. So so if you take the machinery drop in value and the output drop, you get a capital per tonne on the regen group in the 90s, whereas the capital per tonne usually in traditional farming is above 100. So there's not a huge difference, but there is a difference. Even though there's a lower yield, there's less capital per tonne. Access to machinery is hugely different. It's about 130, as I said, in traditional farming, and it's between 50 and 60 pound per acre. It's a lot less in the regen group. So just to summarise then, in terms of this, and I'm not an advocate, or I'm not pushing regen agriculture, but it's very interesting to see the difference, and many farmers now are obviously heading that direction. In terms of reducing costs, the variable costs of £45 per acre less over this is the 4 years we've been doing it. £45 per acre less variable costs. Machinery, labour costs are about £63 per acre less. Output is about £99 per acre less. Okay, on average over the last few years. We've had a bumper year recently, and then the margin is about the same. It actually is £9 per acre more in the regen group, so it's very similar. So even though the dynamics are completely different, you end up with the same margin, less working capital. So you could pay your overdraft off, etc. James. Yeah, so you end up with less working capital, but need to borrow less from Barclays potentially. So those are just a few things that we've picked out from our benchmarking. So the range, the trend, the last point is in the last in the 21 harvest, and we're looking at 22 harvest, and looking forward to 23 at the moment as well with tax planning. And so many farming businesses, and many of you here, I know, are having what we call bumper profits, if you like. So from harvest, and it's been a really good 2 or 3 harvests. Excuse me, got a bit of a cough. And so, which unfortunately ends up with tax bills. So we've been trying to manage, a lot of our work is managing tax bills these days. So it's quite difficult to earn a lot of money and not pay tax. There are a few ways around it if you talk to our tax team here, but that's what we've been at recently, is trying to reduce and manage tax bills. There's a lot going on with tax at the moment, changing. So